Not to mention this video of the second impact. An explosion is clearly seen bursting from the building more than 50 feet from the crash. You're probably asking, if there were bombs in the building, how would they get in there without anyone noticing? Ben Fountain, a financial analyst who worked in the World Trade Center, told People magazine that in the weeks before 9/11, there were numerous unannounced and unusual drills where sections of both the Twin Towers and Building 7 were evacuated for security reasons. Scott Forbes, an employee that worked a fiduciary trust in the South Tower, told Victor Thorne of Wing TV that his company was given 3 weeks advance notice that New York's Port Authority would take out power in the South Tower from the 48th floor up. The reason given was that the Port Authority was performing a cabling upgrade to increase the WTC's computer bandwidth. Forbes stated that a power down had never been initiated prior to this occasion. As a result of having its electricity cut, the World Trade Center's security cameras were rendered inoperative, as were its ID systems and elevators to the upper floors. There were plenty of engineers going in and out of the World Trade Center who had free access throughout the building due to its security system being knocked out. Also, video cameras on top of the World Trade Center, which were used to feed daily images to local TV stations, were strangely inoperative on September 11th. Daria Cord, a guard in the North Tower, told Newsday that security detail was working 12-hour shifts for 2 weeks before 9/11, but on Thursday the 6th, bomb-sniffing dogs were abruptly removed from the building. So who authorized all this? President Bush's brother, Marvin, is a principal at Securicom, a company that provides security for United Airlines, Dulles International Airport, and from the early 1990s up to 9/11, the World Trade Center. If only we could examine the debris from the World Trade Center and figure out what happened. Unfortunately, most of it was immediately shipped out of the country to be melted down. Maybe we should ask Controlled Demolition Incorporated, who was responsible for cleaning up after both September 11th and the Oklahoma City bombing in 1995. But I think the answer is simple enough. What happened on September 11th was a carefully planned, controlled demolition. It was a psychological attack on the American people, and it was pulled off with military precision. "10:06 a.m., Shanksville, Pennsylvania. Flight 93 was en route from New Jersey to California with 45 passengers when it went off course at 8:56 in northeastern Ohio. According to the official story, a group of passengers, led by Todd Beamer's cry of, 'Let's roll,' overpowered the hijackers and forced the plane into the ground. However, eyewitness testimony and physical evidence paint a much different picture. Let's start with the eyewitnesses. Westmoreland County received a call at 9:58 from somebody claiming to be aboard Flight 93. He said he was locked in a bathroom and told dispatchers that the plane was hijacked. He said he felt the plane going down, heard an explosion, and saw white smoke in the cabin. The line went dead shortly thereafter. Eric Peterson of Lambertville was working with a friend in his auto shop when Flight 93 flew overhead. It was going end over end and then dropped below a tree line and exploded. Peterson saw a flash and then a mushroom cloud of smoke. There was a crater in the ground that was really burning. There were pieces of fuselage and clothing all over the area, burning. He said he didn't see any debris longer than a couple feet long. A caller to the Howard Stern Show explicitly describes what happened.
Hey, this is Al. Listen, I live in Somerset, Pennsylvania, just outside of Shanksville. We heard a plane, a low-level plane, and when we heard an explosion, saw smoke coming from the plane in the air, and then there was 2 other planes that passed right over top of it.
Yeah, our plane shot it down.
And a number of eyewitnesses all agree on one thing. Susan McLuane, who lives 2 miles from the crash site, saw a white plane rocket 40 or 50 feet over her minivan. It came right over me. It was so low I ducked. It was traveling real fast, but it didn't make any sound. Then it disappeared behind some trees. A few seconds later, I heard this great explosion and saw this fireball rise up over the trees, so I figured it had crashed. I didn't think much more about it until the authorities started to say that there had been no other plane. The plane I saw was heading right to the point where Flight 93 crashed and must have been there at the very moment it went down. There's no way I imagined this plane. It was so low it was virtually on top of me. It was white, with no markings, but it was definitely military. It just had that look. It had two rear engines, a big fin on the back like a spoiler on the back of the car, and with two upright fins at the side. I haven't found one like it on the internet. It definitely wasn't one of those executive jets. The FBI came and talked to me and said that there was no plane around. Then they changed their story and tried to say it was a plane taking pictures of the crash 3,000 feet up. But I saw it, and it was there before the crash, and it was 40 feet above my head. They did not want my story. Nobody here did. Lee Purbaugh also saw the white jet. Yes, there was another plane. I didn't get a good look, but it was white and it circled the area about twice and then flew over the horizon. Tom Spinelli was working at Indio Lake Marina, a mile and a half away. I saw the white plane. It was flying around all over the place like it was looking for something. I saw it before and after the crash. The FBI's later explanation for the white jet was that a passing civilian Fairchild Falcon 20 jet was asked to descend from 34,000 feet to 5,000 feet some minutes after the crash to give coordinates for the site. The plane and the pilot have never been produced or identified. Susan McLuane says a Falcon 20 was not the plane she saw. But enough of the eyewitnesses. What about the physical evidence?
The debris here is spread over a 3 to 4 mile radius, which has now been completely sealed off and is being treated, according to the FBI, as a crime scene. Governor Tom Ridge made some remarks earlier at a press conference. He had flown over the site. He said the emergency response here was immediate. He also said, and I don't know whether or not you all are able to see pictures of this, but this is one of those cases where the pictures really do tell the story, that sort of the most horrifying aspect of this particular crash scene is how little debris is visible. There is a large crater in the ground, and I'm hoping that you all are seeing it as I'm talking about it. But that's really all you see, is a large crater in the ground and just tiny, tiny bits of debris. There has been at least one report that the investigators out there, and there are hundreds of them, as I said tonight, have found nothing larger than a phone book.
Light debris from the plane was scattered up to 8 miles away, and a section of engine weighing a ton was located 2,000 yards, over a mile from the crash site. But perhaps the most shocking evidence of all is that at the crash site itself, there is absolutely no trace of Flight 93, nothing but a large crater. Fox News interviews a photographer live at the Shanksville crash site.
I want to get quickly to Chris Kanicki. He's a photographer with the Pittsburgh affiliate of Fox affiliate. He was back there just a couple of minutes ago, and Chris, I've seen the pictures. It looks like there's nothing there except for a hole in the ground.
Basically, that's right. The only thing you could see from where we were was a big gouge in the earth and some broken trees. We could see some people walking around in the area, but from where we could see, there wasn't much left.
Any large pieces of debris at all?
No, there was nothing that you could distinguish that a plane had crashed there.
Smoke, fire?
Nothing. It was absolutely quiet. It was actually very quiet. Nothing going on down there, no smoke, no fire. Just a couple of people walking around. They look like part of the NTSB crew walking around looking at the pieces.
How big would you say that hole was?
From my estimates, I would guess it was probably about 20 to 15 feet. Long and probably about 10 feet long, or 10 feet wide.
What could you see on the ground, if anything, other than dirt and ash? And
you couldn't see anything. You could just see dirt, ash, and people walking around, broken trees.
Chris Bolin visited Somerset County to investigate what really happened to Flight 93. Nina Lensbauer told Bolin that the hole was 5 to 6 feet deep and smaller than the 20-foot trailer in her front yard. She described hearing an explosion, like an atomic bomb, not a crash. Lensbauer told Bolin that she did not see any evidence of a plane then or at any time during the excavation of the site, an effort that reportedly recovered 95% of the plane and 10% of the human remains.